Computers. They're a more recent endeavor that has been there throughout their infancy to guide us along with certain tasks that many would have considered far-fetched but a decade ago. People of that time had to go through years and years of rigorous training and studying to even come close to achieving the level of knowledge you can obtain by a simple click away. Knowledge has been passed along from generation to generation, first by what many would call the monkey see, monkey do approach. Then after that, it's a trek that has become increasingly more sophisticated. Next on that list of advancements is communication of ideas by talking, which then led to the spread of information by stories. Once the stories had their mainstay, they needed a much-needed upgrade. As stories, they tend to change from the original meaning over the generations that they are being told through. So that naturally led to wanting to preserve those stories through the invention of written letters and characters, which any bookworm would attest to the delight within. And now we are in the more so current generation, which has recently allowed for these stories to be portrayed in audio and video formats. But lo and behold, the invention of the internet has changed that all quite drastically. In the past, it was only a certain group who could get this information, and only at certain times. What a drag, right? Whereas nowadays, people can have access to this information by a mere millisecond notice to some server somewhere that's hosting this information to hopefully enlighten us as we pore over it with our eyes, ears, and maybe even touch in the not too distant future. The biggest dilemma we as humans have been faced with in this era of communication is sorting through all that data to make sense of it. Because of the advent of the internet, there is just so much of it out there since everyone has something to contribute to this world at large. Of course, there is a typical read through a million articles or listen to a million podcasts or even watch a million videos relating to the topic you are interested in while absorbing tidbits of information here and there to create something spectacular with your mind. That has long been the tempo that we've had to deal with, which has worked well enough to participate in, but there are much better ways of sorting through this information nowadays. The next step is fast approaching, with instructing these computers to do a lot of this time-consuming data search for us. To get the most relevant information, to be able to make critical decisions in the nick of a tick. One field that would greatly benefit from this trek is the medical field. Because there's just so much information that no single human could sort through all this data, even if given the whole duration of a typical lifetime of a human in the 21st century. Also, new treatments would be a good reason to put a system like this in place. As doctors who have been in the field for a while, they might not be able to keep up with the advancements otherwise, due to time constraints or money constraints for schooling. This is something that is spectacular in the revolution of the forward-moving ways in which we are now waiting eagerly to partake in. This is something that will fill the tempo of many, as they will no longer have to wait and go through with their drooling hours in searching for this and that as they sort through all that information that we do have out there, which is boatloads of it. For example, this system, it could compare and contrast the data of other patients with similar issues to help narrow down the potential cause of distress in a patient that a doctor is looking at. Then, of course, the data sweep of the medical think tanks who study their own specialty in great detail. All this data in a usable format right in front of that doctor to practice with. Or should I say less practice and more achieving actual results. This is something that certainly won't replace school. As doctors, they still need to understand the anatomy of the body and how each action taken will affect that person's health. But this digital helping hand would definitely prevent false diagnostics, if not outright make that a thing of the past, as they would then have a guide of virtual expertise to give them advice based on the data collected about the patient. So, all that considered, you would think that all these treatments, they would be much more effective. They would be much more successful, and they would have the much needed attention to detail that can be missed with a human doctor because he can only spend, or she can only spend so much time on each individual patient. Forward advancements. I like this profoundly so. Anyways, if you like this video, follow me on Twitter @Levi989. Subscribe because it certainly will help me make more of these videos if you like them. And with that being said, peace out, and I hope you all have a good one today.